Hi everyone, in this video we're gonna see if you can transplant potatoes and still get a good yield. So potatoes are most often grown directly sown to achieve the best yield and results. They also start off as a large plant from the get-go, so it's not really necessary to transplant. But just like transplanting any plants, there will always be some degree of root shock. Unlike other vegetables, potatoes stop growing once they reach maturity. So we don't want to transplant potatoes too late or else they'll mature at a smaller size. We also want to minimize root shock. If transplanting too late, we might have some growth when the plant has already reached maturity. When potatoes reach maturity, this is called the bulking phase. You want to make sure all that energy is focused on growing the tubers, not the tops. But anyway, let's get to it. To start off, I'm going to grab me some spare pots. I'll be using small to small medium size pots. And for this video, we're going to be using the Dutch cream variety. These are main crop potatoes, so we should get a pretty good yield from these. And it looks like these seed potatoes are in a perfect condition to plant. So now it's time to get our pots ready. Here's the smallest pots I'll be using as long as the seed potatoes can fit. So for the growing medium, I'm just going to be adding some new compost to my existing soil. For the fertilizer, you want to use a balanced feed. Give everything a good mix, and we're just going to fill these halfway up. After filling it up, it's time to plant the seed potato. Once that's done, fill the rest of the pot. Now give it a good soak. Now, we just have to wait for the potatoes to sprout between 1 to 3 weeks. And here's the potatoes sprouting after 2 weeks. At this stage, you can already transplant them, the largest ones. But I'm just going to give them another week or two to become a larger and more stable plant. So a week or two has passed and these guys look ready to be transplanted. So I'm going to be using all of the potatoes planted for this video, so that includes the small ones and the large ones. Given the height of these plants, we can also plant them deeper if we wanted to. So here's what they all look like. And again, the reasons for transplanting: maybe your soil in your garden beds or pots aren't ready yet, or if you're using these as backup for any of the potato plants directly planted into the ground that have failed to grow, or you have some pest issues that attack the plant before it's able to sprout. If you have those problems, then this is the way to go. So here's the pots I'll be using. These are 28 liters and I've already topped it up with new compost and fertilizer. So some plants I'll be planting them on their own and some of them I'll be planting next to another. I'm actually going to add an additional plant over here. This one is a white star variety and was planted as a backup for one of the potatoes in my garden beds. So this is the setup I'm going to go with. As we can see at this stage, the plant has developed quite a nice root system already. And we want to break up the bottom so there's no root bound. Looks like this one's already forming some tubers. Once that's all done, apply some mulch. You want a nice thick 1 to 2 inch layer of mulch. I kinda ran out when I made this video. And just give it a good soaking. So once they've grown bigger, water often and feed it potassium fertilizer every month. And here's how the plants look like a few weeks later. So they look pretty good and develop some nice sized leaves. So here's another transplant of a white star that's growing in my garden bed. And it looks like so far the progress is the same as the one in the pots. At this stage they've reached full maturity. And don't forget, the plant at the front is a white star, so the leaves are a bit larger than the ones at the back. Well, it looks like the single Dutch cream here didn't grow that big. Anyways, here's a white star that is directly planted into a pot. In comparison to the transplanted one, their sizes don't differ that much at all. Alright, it's been 90 days since the plants have been transplanted, it's time to harvest them. So we do have some tubers here that I did not get to cover, so they turned green. Don't consume green potatoes because they are poisonous. To prevent this, you need a thick layer of mulch or heal it up with soil. Time to get to the harvesting. The first pot up is one with multiple plants. And this is looking like a pretty gorgeous harvest already. and I'm pretty pleased with the results. Although they can get larger than this because I've already planted this variety in the past and harvested larger tubers, but there were multiple plants here, so we'll excuse the size for that. And here we have it, the seed potato still intact. And here's the other seed potato that we planted in this pot. Alright, we're done harvesting and let's see what we got from pot number 1. So it looks like we got some good results. Perfect sized tubers for baking. Like I mentioned before, these are smaller due to multiple plants, but I approve of this transplanted harvest. Alright, let's check out the rest of the pots. For pot number 2, we have the White Star variety, which was a solo plant. So this variety is larger than Dutch cream and also pale. So these potatoes are decently large, although they can get bigger than this. Alright, let's see all the potatoes we got from pot number 2. So this one I am a little disappointed in. A 5th potato of the same size would have been nice. I think directly sown would have given us an extra 2 potatoes, even if they're a bit smaller than these. And on to pot number 3. This one has multiple plants. And looks like we've got a lot of treasure to dig up. So pretty similar results to the first pot that also had multiple plants. A few small, small medium, and medium sized tubers. Again, with these potatoes, we don't want to consume any of the green bits. These will need to be cut in half to be safe to eat. Alright, let's see what we got from pot number 3. And this harvest isn't too bad, I approve of it. Again, due to multiple plants, these tubers are slightly smaller. On to the 4th and final pot. This is the Dutch cream solo plant. And this one was quite a surprise. This plant didn't grow too big, but the stems were also quite small as well, so I was expecting an overall smaller harvest. For the size of the plant, I'm going to call this a very successful transplanted harvest. Although still on the smaller side, this is probably the most perfect tuber from this variety so far. Alright, let's see the results of the 4th pot. So this plant delivered nicely, and because it was a solo, the tubers were able to get slightly bigger. So the top to yield ratio was quite impressive, but even this one still falls short to once directly sown into the ground. And there you have it. These are the results of the potatoes that I transplanted into pots. So, my verdict? Yes, you still get a good yield when transplanting potatoes. Some of these results are pretty close or on par with some of the potatoes I directly plant into pots. So yeah, it's pretty much worth it if you want to give it a go. But if you still want the best result and yield that you can achieve, always go for direct planting. So this year isn't my first time transplanting potatoes, but the reason I did it again was to have backup plants for the potatoes planted in the garden beds. Because I gave them a lot of room to grow this season, I wanted to make sure every plant grew and that every plant that grew was a strong plant. I actually ended up replacing 2 of the plants in my garden bed because they grew very skinny stems, so I replaced them with a stronger plant. But yeah, this is the results you can get when directly planting, especially in a garden bed. This one here yielded 2.8 kilos. A bit of a spoiler for the upcoming harvest. So that one was a white star and this one is also a white star. This one also yielded 2.8 kilos. And for my summer potatoes, I actually replaced a few plants with the backups. This one here is a transplant. As you can see, it's grown quite nicely. These 2 in this pot are also transplanted. I had issues so they needed to be replaced. And the one at the back is an original plant. This pot here also has 1 transplanted plant. I think the seed rotted, so it was good to have a backup to replace it. This one was a backup plant, but it looked quite good, so I just transplanted it into a spare pot. So this one here is a backup plant, but I didn't want to throw it away, so I'm just going to plant it in one of the pots I have just freed up. there you have it. Can you transplant potatoes and still get a good yield? Yes, you can. So yeah, this is something I've done in the past once, and I've seen a lot of other people get great results with the transplanting, but directly planting seed potatoes is still highly recommended. This way you won't disturb any of the roots, the plant won't get stunned, and it can grow without any disturbance. But anyway, I hope that video has helped you out. If you want to see more of these type of videos from me, don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. It's crazy, it's nuts. Here we go. Whew.